Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about build and battle kits and the Sun and Moon pre-release kits, which are essentially the same thing. And also at the end of the video, I'm going to do an apology and a correction on yesterday's video because I got something wrong, which I'll own up to. So if you want to get to the end of the video, I might put a timestamp up, or you'll just see because it'll change from like my screen to an actual video. So to get into this, we'll do this quickly. Build and battle kits, are they a good investment? Obviously, with Sun and Moon, a lot of them are referred to as like pre-releases. It's essentially the same thing. You got the holo foil and you get 4 packs. So getting into base set, and before I get into this, actually, again, same thing. I used 80% of MSRP. MSRP is $19.99, so 80%. Normally you can find stuff cheaper than that, cheaper than MSRP rather. So I used 80%. Current market value today, a lot of these came from TCG Player. But for some of them, like the older Sun and Moon stuff, there really isn't a ton on the market. I had to go to eBay. I would just use the lowest listed. And for me, it would be in Canadian. So then I had to take the Canadian and translate that, or not translate, change it into US dollars to make everything in USD. So that's how we got the numbers. To start, base set, again, everything's going to be $15.99 for 80% of our market price. Current market value based on eBay, lowest listed, almost $200, 199.82. That's an 81.55% annualized ROI. Guardians Rising, 25.89% annualized ROI. Burning Shadows, this was kind of surprising how low this one was based on eBay listed. 19.77% annualized ROI. Crimson Invasion, 35.97, 13.24% annualized ROI. Doesn't, not surprising that Crimson Invasion is the lowest return on investment on the list. Ultra Prism 9321 is a 32.46% ROI. Forbidden Light $44.91 is a 18.72% annualized ROI. Celestial Storm 7452 is a 30.55% annualized ROI. Lost Thunder 5129 is a 23.49% ROI. Team Up, the big one, obviously $212.01, 63.24% annualized ROI. Unbroken Bonds $96.13 is a 44.93% annualized ROI. Unified Minds $76.75, 38.81% annualized ROI. And Cosmic Eclipse $112.48 is a 53.88% annualized ROI. When we add these up, get the average, it comes out to 33.72% annualized ROI. So not as good as booster boxes, even in terms of returns for Sun and Moon era. And then obviously on top of this, you're going to have to sell a lot more. You're going to have to spend a ton of time listing these things, shipping them individually. And then obviously they're not even going to sell as well as things like booster boxes, so they're going to be much harder to get rid of. So definitely not as good of an investment when we look at Sun and Moon in comparison to something like booster boxes. When we look at Sword and Shield, obviously you have things like base set and evolving skies. Pretty much everything for Sword and Shield was on TCG Player. Base set is at 52.75, which is a 32.36% annualized ROI, much higher than the booster box. Rebel Clash 26.68, 13.55%. Darkness Ablaze 31.32. That's almost a 20% annualized ROI. So the build and battle kits for Darkness Ablaze definitely do better than the booster box. Vivid Voltage 33.96 is a 24.06% ROI. Again, that is doing better than the booster box as well. Battle Styles 17.54, 2.99%. Chilling Reign 1946, only a 7.01% return, doing much worse than the booster box. Evolving Skies 5708 is a 60.02% annualized ROI. Again, doing much worse than the booster box, which when we looked at it was over 100% annualized ROI. Fusion Strike 1852, 6.06%. Brilliant Stars $16.86 or 85 cents rather, 2.04 or 2.4%. Astral Radiance $14.96 is a negative 3.34% annualized ROI. Lost Origin 1636, 1.38%. Again, not surprising that this one's doing better than Astral or Silver Tempest. And then finally, Silver Tempest 1406, negative 8.23% annualized ROI. I wouldn't be too worried about some of these, obviously, like the Astral Radiance, the Lost Origin, the Silver Tempest, even Brilliant Stars Fusion Strike, even going back as far as like Battle Styles Chilling Reign. Obviously, these sets are kind of just selling out this year on the Pokemon Center in terms of like the booster boxes, right? Normally, products like this, like the build and battle kits, ETBs, blister packs, stuff like this, it seems to lag behind because a lot of people want to go for the booster boxes because they're the premium product. Once those sell out, people start looking at other products to find, value or, kind of a delta between where the price should be and where it is. Obviously, with these less popular products, they are going to go up over time, just as the pack price inside goes up. So it's not surprising that these newer sets in Sword and Shield, like the final ones, aren't doing as well right now. We got to give it time. Sun and Moon has had time to age. So again, it's not a great comparison, but Sun and Moon at this point, when we look at the build and battle kits, we do have some legitimate data over a few years to kind of get an idea of what we can expect from build and battle kits. In terms of what's going on, obviously, I don't think it's that good of an investment. It may be a bit better of an investment for some of the weaker sets, kind of like if you look at Sun and Moon base over 40% annualized ROI. This is really interesting. Obviously, it doesn't sell often. It was very difficult to find data on this, but when we looked at the booster box, I think it was like 14%, something like that. Maybe 20. So definitely outperforming the booster box. Things like Guardians Rising, I think this might even be a bit higher. I'm trying to think if any of the other ones. Team Up is about the same, I'd say, and I think a lot of these are probably a bit lower. Maybe the Cosmic Eclipse one's like a bit higher than the booster box. I honestly can't remember what it came out to, or they're pretty similar. When we look at Sword and Shield, again, base set 32.36% annualized ROI, much better than the booster box, which was I think only 14% or something like that. So the base set's definitely doing well. On top of that, Vivid Voltage 24.06% annualized ROI, definitely better than the booster box also. And again, that comes down to what they reprinted. Vivid Voltage was reprinted many times during COVID. So, if the build and battle kits weren't reprinted as much, it would make sense why there's less of them, why they're more valuable to collectors, etc. So that's doing well. Darkness Ablaze also almost 20%, definitely doing better than the booster box as well. Everything else kind of just is doing much worse, especially Chilling Reign. And then Evolving Skies, okay, fair enough, but even much worse than the booster box. And then pretty much everything after that just hasn't had time to age, so we don't really have accurate data on it. So yeah, outside of base set and a couple of the weaker sets that probably were reprinted, but the build and battle kits weren't, and there's not a ton of them, definitely probably not worth doing, even if you can find, sealed displays. But again, everything has a price where you can buy it at. It makes sense to buy. It really just depends on where you can find it and for what price. So keep that in mind when you're doing your shopping, you're investing, etc. That's all I got for the video. We'll move on to the next part. Alright guys, so I got to issue a correction to yesterday's video. When I was talking to Pokebeard, I misinterpreted something he said in his initial comment, which led to kind of a lot of the issues, and it's entirely my fault. Later, when we were talking, he said something along the lines of when he was referencing the podcast, he said half the podcast was why people was talking about why people didn't like Pokemon investors, which I 100% include myself in. I interpreted that as him saying that he didn't like Pokemon investors. He was including himself in that group. He was obviously referring to himself as an investor in this. So, I fucked up in that sense. I thought he was saying that he hates investors. Doesn't hate investors. At least he hasn't explicitly said that. So, that's something I got wrong in my video that I'm absolutely correcting. Pokebeard did not say that he hates investors. That's my bad. Sorry for that. And again, this isn't going to be me saving face. I still think the guy is incredibly disingenuous. He misrepresented what PokeOffice said. He said that the only thing that matters for investors is the money. And, he portrays his channel as something other than an investing channel, which it's literally just an investing channel. And, I'm going to leave it at this because I think this is really interesting. But if anyone wants to respond to this, I would love to hear, I'd love to hear a legitimate, honest reply, because when I think about it, right, at least in my head, and we all have our own biases and blockers, so maybe that's why I can't come up with a legitimate answer. So if someone thinks about this differently from me, please let me know, right? So if you claim to be a Pokemon fan or collector first, right, most people would agree, and I agree, that when we see these massive influxes in prices and we claim that it's market manipulation and pumping and all of this, like it's just investors coming in and pumping products and shooting them to the moon overnight, buyouts, blah blah blah, like all of this talk, right? If you're a fan or a collector first, you're a hobbyist of the card game, and we agree that this is a bad thing for the hobby, okay? And you might disagree with me on that point. Like you might say that it is a good thing that all this outside money is, rapidly manipulating prices on certain things. Maybe you have an argument why you think that's a good thing for the hobbyists and collectors. I personally don't think it's a good thing that people are coming in and manipulating and pumping things, but for me, it is what it is, right? But you might say that it's a good thing, in which case we already disagree, and you can tell me an argument why you don't think it's a bad thing. You think it's a good thing. But most people would agree, right? That, market manipulation, people coming in and, rapidly pumping stuff to the moon and then dumping it or whatever, most people would agree that's a bad thing for the hobby as a whole. So if you agree with me, first of all, if you disagree, tell me why. But if you agree with me that that's a bad thing, why would you be making videos every day, multiple times a week, about the products that people are pumping and investing? Why would you contribute to something that you would deem negatively affecting your hobby? That's kind of my big issue with a lot of these people, right? Like you're just being disingenuous, because the way I see it, these people would rather make these videos because they know they get views and they know that they can make a lot of money off making videos like this. So what that tells me is people would rather make money and knowingly do something that negatively contributes to the hobby than do something that actively, positively contributes to the hobby or prevents that from becoming a bigger thing, right? So it's just people putting monetary interests above what they claim to be a fan of or a collector first, right? Like if investors are all about money, if that's what you're saying, like investors only care about the money, but you're doing something that puts money before your actual hobby, then what are you? Like it just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. So I still think the guy's disingenuous, but I fucked up yesterday. I said something that wasn't true. And again, like, look, it's not a lie, right? Like I didn't do it on purpose. I just misinterpreted what he said. I fucked up. My bad. I'm owning it today, Forgive me or not, I don't really give a shit, right? But, I need to put the truth out there because I talk about it all the time, right? Like being honest, being just genuine, and when you fuck up, you got to talk about it, right? You got to own it. So um, that's me doing this right here. So sorry for fucking that up yesterday. Pokebeard did not say that he hates investors. That was me misinterpreting something he said. But yeah, as part of that, like, you guys let me know whether you disagree or agree with what I'm saying, and moving forward, we'll get back to a lot more investing content, and I'll leave the drama for when I like really want to rant. This was kind of just a bit off topic, and I shouldn't have got into it. But hey, it is what it is. We all make mistakes in life. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.